Julio, thank you so much for joining us again. We had the pleasure of getting to know you a little bit more at NELA this year. For anyone listening, definitely make sure that you catch that content. We'll make sure that it's linked wherever. But for anyone who doesn't know who you are, give us a brief introduction of yourself.
Well, Alex, nice to see you again. I'm happy to be here. So I'm Julio Grapa. I am a 33-year lifetime member with SHIP. Started before my freshman year in college, and I've been a member ever since. I am a chemical engineer that works in IT today. So I've had a very circuitous career. I started in manufacturing with Procter Gamble. I went back and forth between manufacturing and engineering for 12 years before I jumped over to research and development. I did that for 11 years before I jumped over to IT. So I'm in kind of my third career at P&G. I love what I do because I work with the smartest people. I'm always, not to blow too much, too many kudos for myself, but I'm the dumbest guy in the room. I'm a chemical engineer.
Yeah.
Like I work with PhDs, I work with other engineers, and I'm always amazed by how smart and how dedicated the folks at P&G are. So I love what I do with my company, and as part of what I do, P&G's allowed me to serve my passion project, which is why I've been doing SHIP for so long. This is de aquí soy. I'm from here. Right? This is my family. This is it's given me the opportunities. It's given me my network. It has saved my job. It has given me a job. It has made me friends all over the country. It's even literally saved my life. And we talked about that in the last podcast. So I have a huge place in my heart for this organization, but it's not the organization. It's the people that make the difference. Because an organization it's just a name. What makes the organization is the people inside of it. So to the SHIP staff, the SHIP volunteers, the SHIP Familia membership, this is awesome. This is a cool thing. So yeah, that's who I am. I'm dedicated to my job and my family right now. So I have fun, but spend a lot of time with my dad and my brothers, going out to California to visit them, my wife and the kids. So that's also very important to me. And then, giving back, elevating, empowering. There's nothing that speaks more true to my personal, vision or mission of, improving lives and doing better than being here and seeing the future, taking these opportunities that I had and I took advantage and gave me a great life to see them go do it or to help them go through it, right? So this is a special place.
And just real quick, as you alluded, last time we were together, you were able to sit down with Damian and share a lot of your journey, as you alluded to, through your cancer journey and how
Yes.
SHIP was a part of saving your life. And I encourage everyone to go hear that story. We recorded that at the very end of our event, and Damian and I were just completely shook after talking to you and just in awe of your whole journey. So I encourage everyone to go find that story and listen to it. You had an incredible journey. You're an incredible person, and yeah, definitely go listen to that. I want to talk about right now. We are really excited about SHIP and their 50th anniversary.
Yes.
50 years of serving Hispanics and in STEM fields and making such an impact on so many lives. And you've been involved. You said the number. It's already falling out of my brain. How long have you been with SHIP?
For a SHIP, 33 years.
33 years. So over that period of time, we're sitting here at convention in Salt Lake City, 2003. 33 years ago, what's the contrast? What are some of the biggest ways you've seen SHIP grow over the time you've been here?
Well, convention was always the flagship event, always has been the flagship event, and career fair has always been the flagship of the flagship event, right? So there's some things that don't change. The workshops, the companies, the reps, the energy, the feeling that you get, that's been a constant. And maybe that's that's my hook. That's my I'm a junkie for that, right? That's a constant, that vibe, that energy. What's changed though is obviously the content, right? We didn't have things like AI and cybersecurity back then, right? So there's a lot of evolving technologies that we see now that we didn't see then. But what's I think changed the most is that the programs have gotten a lot more impactful, right? We have more programs today, right? We have more members. So it goes back to that analogy of the pyramid. It's not just the members; it's the programs. The programs are the glue that keep the members engaged, right? We're in chats, right? I don't know how many ship chats there must be, and group chats and WhatsApp, and I can't keep up. I'm on like 4 or 5 of them. I'm like, this is enough, right?
Yeah.
It's too many. At some time. So there's a lot of things that have evolved that is just makes this that has filled in a lot of those seams of programs that we were missing. What we do now, or the earlier outreach, Equipando Padres is an amazing idea and program that is setting up the first gens, even second gens, to help figure out how are we going to go do this, right? And making sure that we bring along the parents who are unaware, who are scared, who is not for me, and there's no way, no how that's out of our reach. And getting them to say it's in our reach, it just gives their children the permission to go chase their dreams, because kids want to help the parents. When the parents say, sorry, mijo, we can't do this, they're like, oh, well, we can't, I guess we can't, right?
Right.
And when the parents say, okay, I guess I understand it, that's awesome, right? I guess you can. I understand it better. It's no longer out of fear, right? So there's a lot of programs like that SHPE has brought to life over the years, and that's awesome. That's I think where we're continuing to grow. There always will be opportunities as you think about what it takes to really elevate this community, but that's the challenge, right? So that's what are we going to go do next? What is this next generation going to build on top of? Right, what we've already done, right? So as we think about the 50th year, right, bringing everybody to convention, it's going to be our largest ever, right? We're going to have more programs. We're doing all these events beforehand. So we're prototyping, we're doing new things, right? And then we're going to get the feedback along the way, and that's called innovating, right? We're going to adjust what we did, and we're going to learn from that and do even better. So the fact that we have more hands to go do, right, is going to make us even better, right? So it's just this, we all know what the downward spiral is. This is an upward spiral, right? So huge evolution. The organization's amazing. The growth is explosive. It's just the sky's the limit. It really is.
What do you think? Oh, that was totally in my head a second ago. I'm going to slightly change direction. It'll come back to me. One of the things I love about talking to particularly members who have been in SHPE as long as, or close to as long as, because there's not a lot of people that have been there more than 33
There's a handful.
I've gotten a couple, but I can't fill both hands with what I've met.
I heard the highest number. There's a couple guys. There's one guy that I hang out that I know he's like a 34, 35. I heard 43.
43. Wow.
I attended my first SHPE conference 43 years ago. You win. You win.
It's so incredible, and I think it really speaks to just the impact of the organization, right? You guys can't quit.
Oh,
and
I'm hooked.
And you're so hooked, and I think the SHPE's ability to keep you guys hooked and keep you guys so motivated to lift up this next generation really speaks to the success. And I see you instilling that in these generations that come after you. I've spoken to so many members, leaders in SHPE who are not even to the age of 43, 33, much younger than that, just in their time on this earth, let alone in SHPE. And they are already speaking in very similar ways, where they talk about making sure that whatever leadership position they have, they don't hang on to it, and they make sure that someone else can experience that, and make sure that someone else has an opportunity to grow as they go and continue their growth path. And it's really beautiful to see really the trickle down effect that keeps happening, and exciting to think of we think of all that's happened over the past 50 years. What are the next 50 years going to look like? We're going to keep, because it's not going to stop.
It's not going to stop.
There's no stopping at this point. It's an avalanche now.
Yeah. So,
And I love getting to talk to all you guys. Your engineer starts to show after a while. And what I mean by that is you guys are always solving problems. And I love that the passion that everyone has here for uplifting the future generations of Hispanics in STEM by these engineers who are very analytical, very driven, very passionate, and very get stuff done. I think is also a huge driving factor in all this. You guys you're innovating different ways to do things.
And that's in our DNA.
Exactly.
Culturally, that's in our DNA. And that is something that I think sometimes gets missed. In our culture, it is paramount that we help each other. My family, my dad, my mom was like, you need to help your younger brother, make it happen, right? Like we depended so much on each other that we're always concerned about our family, los primos, los tíos, hey, come over for Christmas, big parties, right? We're always that small community. We're uplifting, we're helping, we're hanging out, we're celebrating, right? So that's an innate need that we have, that I have as a Mexican, as a Hispanic, to say, I need to serve my community. The definition of community changes, it evolves over time. Yes, I need to serve my family, but I also have a desire to serve a bigger community, right? My Hispanic community, right? So it's in our DNA to serve. And it's also in our DNA, necessity is the mother of all invention. We have needs, right? The Hispanic community has been very good at inventing things out of need. And as a result, we are innate innovators. You go on TikTok and you see some of the stuff that people do to fix an issue, right? I saw something really funny the other day. A guy was mad because his girlfriend wouldn't scratch his back, right? And this is in Spanish, right? And so he grabs a fan, one of those oscillating fans, and he ties a feather to it, right? And now he's got an automatic back scratcher.
Yeah.
Right. You probably have seen this one or not. I don't know, but
I haven't even going to look for it though.
But it's an example of it's an innate problem solving. That he had a problem. I want to get my back scratched. He found a solution. Yeah, he had a couple solutions. Prototypes didn't work. So he innovated. He found a solution, and that's in our DNA. So we are innately want to give back to the community. We innately want to innovate. So when those two come together, it's SHIP. It's STEM, right? It's SHIP STEM, right? So that's at the crossroads of who we are as scientists and engineers to technologists. Like, that's what we do.
And so, speaking of just the nature to continuously innovate, I'm just desperate to get you to tell stories because you have so many great stories and you tell them so well. I want to hear. We're here at convention, right? And so you've been to so many conventions over the years. One of the great things about conventions, you meet all these incredible young members and you get to see the passion and the drive, and the energy is just so contagious. Is there an interaction you had with a young SHIP member that really stands out to you over the years, that just, you talk to this person and you're like, I'm going to follow up with you because you're going to do amazing things?
Oh, so many.
Yeah.
So many, and I've lost track. And back then in the day, we didn't have LinkedIn, so I can't imagine what our network would be like if we had LinkedIn for 33 years, right? So there's a lot of them. I see some of the giants, right? Jay Flores, Elio Moro, who are really doing things for the next generations, right? Jay Flores found me yesterday with Adriano Ocampo, and he said, you guys were my mentors when I was a student coming into SHIP, and now he's super successful. He's got his own, I think it's a podcast series, and he does all that. And just to see him have grown into that, right, and found his wings is super energizing, lifting for me. That's why I keep coming back, is it's almost very self-fulfilling. Like, I want to hear all these stories. But I had one this convention that is actually one for the books. So we're coming out of the hospitality suite. It's late at night, and they've shut down the convention center. They're trying to get us all out. And this one candidate walks up to me. He says, "Hey, do you remember me?" And I'm like, "I think I do." Right? You look familiar, which is unfortunately what I say a lot because I meet so many people. He's like, "I was at Nila." I'm like, "Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember you." I looked at his name. I think his name is Diego. But we got into this conversation. He had asked me at Nila, "Hey, I'm having trouble fundraising. Would you be so kind to sponsor my chapter?" And I said, "Oh, because of the location and where you're at, I won't be able to sponsor your chapter. But hey, let me just talk about some strategies you could go get funds." And I gave him two channels, one through industry and one to go back into the school. And so he's following up with me. He says, "Hey, that advice you gave me worked. Half of it worked, half of it didn't. The industry stuff was a bust. It didn't work, but the academic path, talking to the advisors, really did work. I would talk to my advisor, and we were able to work with the university, and we were able to secure more funds. I was able to bring more people to the convention because of that." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool, right?" I'm like, it was really cool because a couple of things, the fact that he followed up, right?
yeah.
A lot of times they ask questions, "What should I do?" And then you tell them, and then they forget, or they're busy, or whatever. And it's just, I'm not throwing shade, but he followed up, and that was on him, right? He chose to act on advice of somebody he hadn't met before, right? So that was really empowering. I'm like, "That's really cool. You followed up on that, and that you're coming back with." So I'm like, win-win. This is cool. And then I asked him, "Well, so how many more does that mean?" I'm thinking, I don't know, 10, 5,
Sure.
10, 15. I think he said something north of 40. Wow. He doubled the size of his team, and he attributes it to some of the coaching that I gave him to go talk to his advisor and see how they could go through the university to secure more funds. And because of that, he was telling me that he was able to double and bring in the 80s. I think they're bringing from down in the Rio Grande Valley to convention. I'm like, that's so empowering to me, because it's not only that I helped one person, because I helped him, right? And I helped him be a better chapter leader and to do something. But he just multiplied that by 40.
Yeah.
Because he just helped 40 people get here to have this experience. And maybe none of those 40 people ever meet me, but they'll go talk to 40 companies, and those 40 companies might take them into 80 companies, and then it's just going to grow. And it's that pyramid effect again, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
because they're going to go back to their campus, and they're going to talk in their families, and the younger brother's going to want to be like the older brother that's first gen in college, right? And all of a sudden, I want to do that because I see myself there. That's what gets me going. That is like, wow, that's cool, because that's not a small impact that he had.
Yeah.
And like, I had a small impact. I impacted one person to be able to do his job. He took that and multiplied it. And that's what this is all about. So I wish I would have been savvy enough way back in the day to create kind of like a spider chart, right? Where you have that one bubble, that one connection, and hey, it spiders out to 40, right? What's that one connection? And go find those people. And how many have you impacted? Because you could just see how it would just blow up.
Oh, insane. I mean, there's 12,000 people outside these doors
Right.
that are doing that nonstop. I mean, you talk about having a conversation with him at Nila. You talk to so many people at Nila, you didn't recognize him at first, and at convention, you're doing the same thing. And I love the perspective of, well, I just helped one person, because, and I don't mean that to devalue the impact that you had, but to say that, to put in perspective that it's achievable. It's a realistic thing you can do. By you taking the time to have this conversation with him, you made an impact on him, and that impact he was able to then completely multiply, pay forward. And I think that's a really great message for all of us to hear, is that you don't have to go and sponsor 40 members to get them to come to convention. You don't have to think of all of your impact being on a big scale. With the community, the familia that we have here, you just have to focus on the connection that's right in front of you, and you never know when that's going to multiply 40-fold.
Yeah.
And I think that's incredible. I love that story.
It's and one of the coolest parts is one of my colleagues was standing right next to me. So when we wrapped up the conversation, we're going, and he excused himself and he went off. My colleague looks at me and kind of smacks me on the shoulder. He's like, "Nicely done." I'm like, it's just so empowering. It's like, and I turned to him. I'm like, "That's why we do this, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I bet you he has just as many stories. He talks to so many students, all of my colleagues that come and recruit to make connections. And I see candidates walk up to them from previous years. I hear them when we're at the career fair booth. "Oh, hey, I saw you last year. You're back. Oh, you remember me?" They have the same conversation. "You encouraged me to apply, and oh, I didn't get this, but I got this other interview over here. And thank you for what you told me." And it's just that. It's like with there's a saying, in a rising tide, all ships rise. When we're elevating each other, right? Everybody's going to elevate, right? And then it's our responsibility to always be, we're looking around ourselves to make sure nobody's falling through the cracks, and we're reaching out and we're evolving, right? Because the needs evolve, right? SHPE needs are different, right? As we think about, we need an ERG within our ERG, right? We need affinity teams within SHIP, right? As we think about the LGBT community, as we think about disability community, right? I'm part of a SHIP member with disabilities, right? As we think about how do we serve those members, we're going to evolve and grow, right? So I can't wait to see what we can do for a broader base, right? To have more needs met, and have more stories like that to say, hey, we've impacted. And it's not just me. I'm so fortunate to be receiving this award tonight.
Tell me about this award.
Yeah, the Rod Garcia Founders Award, which I'm through the roof. It's a highlight of my career for sure. But it's about impacting the community, giving back. It's about always just an ear. You don't have, as engineers, and particularly maybe as a male, hey, here's the solution. You got a problem. Here's what you need to go do. Sometimes here it's just about, hey, let's talk. What do you need? Hey, I was thinking about doing this, and they just practice on you. And then by the end of the conversation, they're settled down and they're calm, right? And then, hey, good luck. All right, thanks. And they walk away. It's like, I didn't do anything, right? There's there's a bajillion small little stories, right? Of small connections, of a smile that says somebody's walking into a booth. Hey, you're going to do great. The convention center staff, so not SHIP, not volunteers, not employers, not participants, but people that worked for the Salt Palace Convention Center, were telling the candidates as they're checking into the interviews, good luck. You're going to do good. I'm like, wow, it's the small things. And it doesn't have to be within the community. It's allies, right? There's small acts, right? Will elevate the community. There's bigger acts. There's companies that, sponsor SHIP. That's a huge financial time commitment, right? It doesn't have to be that. Yeah. It can be, I have an advisor, Armando Veloz. He was my advisor 33 years ago. He was an industry guy that just would show up to the SHIP chapter meetings at campus. He's still doing it. He goes every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks to their general body meeting, shows up, talks to the kids, to the students, and just is always there for them. And I've just stayed in touch with them, and it's like he's one of those giants that was just helped in a small way. So there's a lot of stories out there, big and small. I've got my big ones. I've got a lot of them that I run into people that I've seen 20 years ago, right? When they were students and I was early in my career. And there's few I went to school with that are still here. But every now and then I see somebody that I went to school with, right? And, oh my God. It's just so amazing.
And I love how you're continuing to put into perspective the not only the importance of making an impact, but the simplicity of making an impact. We just told your story about you made an impact on one person, he multiplies it 40-fold. And you bring up how you don't have to be donating thousands of dollars. You don't have to be spending 40 hours a week or a month or whatever it is, dedicating all this. You can make an impact with small, moments of affirmation, encouragement,
Yeah.
and not to say that. I mean, if you're out there and you want to donate thousands of dollars,
Please do.
great, absolutely do
Please
that.
do.
But don't shy away from engaging and encouraging others because it seems too far-fetched,
Yeah.
too big to make an impact on someone. You're literally showing us how it takes the small things to really change so much.
And I think for me personally, that's in my DNA because that's the way I want to be treated in the world. So it's the way I treat others in the world. Say hi, smile on the street, open a door. Doesn't matter who you are, right? Put that energy out there. That's going to multiply, right? You hear these stories of, somebody helped somebody or gave them an umbrella, and they were going to their interview, and because they weren't wet, they were the only one that wasn't wet at the interview, and therefore they should have a better interview, right?
Sure.
And it's just totally a random act of kindness, and we've seen the bumper stickers, right? But I think that's, and we live it at SHPE because everybody here is on that front side of positivity, of energy, that it's just contagious, right? And we all get that energy. I get the chills. We're all like excited and we're here, let me help you. And one of the staff members walks around with a little set of scissors, right? And she's helping the candidates look their top, right? And helps with the suits and the skirts. And I always work with the candidates as I see somebody, if their lanyard's backwards or it's covered up, like, hey, you maybe want to move it up a little bit, and giving them tips. And I walk away, right? And it's like, just help each other.
Yeah.
And that's easy to do when we're all familia, right? When it's all your community, because then you're not worried about what other people are going to think.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
I do want to circle back a little bit. I'm not going to let you breeze over the fact that you're receiving the Rod Garcia Award.
Okay.
I have not been in SHPE for 33 years, but even I am in awe of the name Rod Garcia.
Yes.
What must it feel like to be receiving an award with his name on it, the founder of SHPE?
Oh, it is such a humbling, I'm not worthy. It's imposter syndrome. If anybody's got imposter syndrome, hold my beer. For me, it is an honor of a lifetime. It is a recognition of, I won't say I don't deserve it because I'm trying to break that paradigm, right? We as a community tend to shy away from, I did good and self-promotion, right? That's actually a lot of what we train on. So I'm not going to do that. I'm very proud to receive this award. And I look at at what I've done over 33 years. I hope I am saying this without any hubris. Yeah, I'm glad I'm receiving it. I think I deserve something for the effort. Not this, by any means. So, and that's something from the effort for me has always been recognition from my peers, recognition from my boss, from my family, the stories that I hear. That's my recognition. But to get this, and to get a Star Award to begin with.
Yeah.
To be on that list, to be even submitted for a nomination, but then to get the Rod Garcia, the Founders Award, Rod Garcia. He and I met him. I saw him over the years. I'd always say hi to him. We'd chat, and we never became good buds. But his mission, his vision, aligns perfectly with mine to serve the community, right? And so I think he would be very pleased. Knowing that I'm getting it, I'm honored to be further connected to him and his legacy. And yeah, I'm through the roof. I'm so excited.
I am so glad to hear that you are obviously honored and excited, but it really warms my heart to hear you say that you do deserve it. Because I was preparing my speech about convincing you that of course you do and all, and I think, and the reason I bring that up is because we are all so programmed to like force fake humility. And I think it's important to be proud of yourself. And I think that's something that we can all learn from, acknowledge what you've done well, acknowledge that you've made an impact and use that to keep going. And so I'm so thrilled that you're receiving this award. And I was just curious, what was the nomination process like? When did you first find out?
I found out when they awarded it. I didn't even know I was nominated.
Oh my
It
gosh.
came out of left field. I heard rumors in a chat. Hey, be checking your email. I'm like, what's this? Go check your email.
You're getting fired.
No.
That's what I think every time.
No, so go check your email. These are from Ship, and I'm like, okay. I'm checking. I'm not finding it. My spam filter caught that one email. They didn't catch anything else, but caught that one. So I had to go into my spam filter. I find it. I'm like, what? And I was. It took me a month to really like start putting it up on social media, to do stuff, to start talking about it, because I'm like, I'm not worthy. Why me? Why me? What have I done? I'm just doing my job. But I got to thinking of the stories. I got to thinking of it. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Why not me? Why not
Yeah.
me? And the funny thing is I'm taking this experience. So story. I'm part of the ship, my ship team lead at P&G. There's 5 of us on the team, and one of my responsibilities was to communicate up to my leadership chain, like, here's what the convention is going to be, this is what we're doing. So I sent out this mass email to the leadership team, the Hispanic leadership team, to my chief technology officer, a handful of other people in the D&I spaces. And I say, hey, here's what we're doing at convention. Here's the size of convention, registrants, companies. I did some math on interviews that were going to be held over the next 4 days, right, to kind of pump up the value of the convention. And I also, in that same email, wrote, said, oh, and exciting news is P&G is receiving an award, right? And I went through what Star Award is. This is our second Star Award, so it's a very cool thing. And, oh, by the way, I'm the one receiving the award, right? I think they were ready to say, and it's this person, so we need to do something. And I wrote what it meant to me, and what I said was, this is what little boy dreams are made of. And I sent it. That email immediately made the rounds to the C-suite. And it got me, and I've got emails and I've got communications from C-suite, from the execs at P&G that I would otherwise never engage with. It's not that they're unreachable, unapproachable. It's just my projects never are in their space. And in this case, I'm in their space and they're talking to me. It's amazing. And I'm going to parlay this experience of how do you self advocate?
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to create a workshop out of it because P&G Ship is still teaching me how to do things. Right. So I'm still learning. Right. It's very uncomfortable, but I put it out there, and now it's like, what did I do? I want to share that experience because I get a lot of things. We hear them at the student chapters when we talk. And it's like, how do you advocate for yourself? Like I don't want to toot my own horn. In the chats, as professionals, we talk about it a lot about progressing your career, and you need mentors and advocates and sponsors, and sometimes you need your own advocacy, right? So this is part of that wheel of success, one of the skill sets, and definitely want to go parlay that into learning a workshop that I'll do at NELA, RLDC, one of the schools, right? And so hopefully what I learned, what Ship gave to me in this journey, right? I'm still learning. I'll be able to pass on again, and maybe one person will be able to impact 2 or 3 more, right? So
as we sit here recording this today, here in Salt Lake City at convention, Star Wars Gala is tonight.
yes,
Are you ready? Do you have speeches prepared?
I have my speech prepared.
Excellent.
I am excited. Giants. We are giants. If I've seen further or have reached greater heights, it's been standing on the shoulder of giants. And I believe that in my heart, like you wouldn't believe. And it's not just the people before me. It's the students. It's the students that give me the energy. That's a giant. That's somebody that's making me want to do something. That's enabling me. That's energizing me. So no, I'm excited. I'm ready. I still have to go pick up my socks. I had to. I'm doing it up, right? I'm like, this is my 15 minutes, so I'm doing it up, and my socks didn't quite match my tux, so I ordered some. They're I'm Amazon Prime, right? So I'm hoping they'll deliver to the hotel. My pink socks for tonight. So
Wonderful.
I'm excited.
I also want to just point out a really important piece that we all need to remember. You're 33 years into SHIP. You're still you're still learning.
Yes.
You're still growing.
Yes.
So no one has an excuse to leave until you're over 30. You can let us know when you tapped out, but it sounds like you got to keep going.
No, I'm another 33.
Excellent.
I will be here until the day I can't. And I think the only thing that is going to take me away from this place will be my demise or my cancer. So until then, I'm not done. I'm never going to be done. And SHIP is my life force. It's my energy. It's my reason to continue. It's one of my reasons to continue to give. So when I say that SHIP is life, literally life for me, it is. And I'm so much committed, and it's such part of me that I have a sleeve that I'm working on. It's my sleeve of love and loss, right? And one of the things that I just had done, I just added, was my SHIP tattoo.
I've been staring at that off and on during this whole interview. So I love that. And
This is who I am. This is in my DNA. SHIP's in my DNA. This is the arm that gives me my strength. It's got my mom, my dad, my brothers. It's got my cancer, my wife, the kid. It's like, it's got to have facet. It's incomplete without SHIP.
yeah.
And it's right there, right there.
I also want to draw attention real quick to, obviously, you've mentioned so many times, we are giants. When you said that just now, in reference to how excited you are about receiving the awards, and particularly, Ron Garcia, I couldn't help but notice the emotion that flooded you. Say, we are giants in that moment. And I want to give you a quick moment to talk about someone whose shoulders you stood on to get to where you are. I know there's so many.
There are so many. There are so many. When I started, when I was midway through my career at P&G, about 11 years, I'm getting to the point where I've moved up, and I'm looking at the career progression of where I'm at, what I want to do, and I'm at a point where I have to make a decision. Am I going to become a technical master and sit in this technology and do this type of work for my career, in which case I need to double down on what I'm doing? Or am I looking for something different? Do I want to do something different? And my answer to myself was, I don't know what I want to do, which meant I don't want to be this technical master. And when I was at that point in my career, was at the exact same point when I ended up connecting with the P&G SHIP team, because I wasn't always on the P&G SHIP team. As a early professional, I was a professional at P&G, and I would come to convention. I would recruit at convention for my sites, but I wasn't part of the bigger P&G SHIP team because early on there wasn't one. But it got established, it grew, and I didn't know about it. And at convention, I show up and I'm like, why are you guys here? I'm with P&G. Nice to meet you. And I ended up meeting my mentor, one of my best friends, my advocate, and I've stood on his shoulders a number of times. He has done so much for me. In that instance, he was higher up in the company than me. He's like, you need to come work for me. He got to know me over a couple SHIP conferences. Like, he liked what he saw. He liked how I worked with students, how I engaged. He's like, you need to come work for me. You need to come into R&D. And he facilitated a switch from the manufacturing engineering space into the R&D space. And I started my career scary, scary, scary. And he coached me and he introduced me to people and opened doors for me. I had to get there on my own. And then while I was in R&D, we were downsized. I was unfortunately in a position of, I was left without a seat when the music stopped. And he coached me and guided me and was able to mentor me into conversations that enabled me to find another role inside of P&G. And he's been my giant, my advocate, my mentor. He's advocated for me behind closed doors, and I know nothing about it. And he's probably put his head out for me, his reputation on me many, many times. And it was just out of a connection, just out of a friendship that developed. And we're best of friends now. And it goes without saying, Miguel Alameen. He's just an incredible man, and he is one of my giants. He is absolutely up there with mom and dad, a couple other folks, Rod Garcia, right, for what Rod started. He's definitely one of my giants.
I want to share this quick moment with you. Last time last time we were together and you were able to sit down with Damien, right before we were interviewing you, we were interviewing Miguel. And when Miguel left, we had mentioned that you were coming up next. And he said, this guy's got an amazing story. And in that I spent so much time that day recording. I can't remember everything that it said, but I know that you was a look in his eye when we said, "Oh, Julio Grapa's coming next." It's like, "Oh well, you need to ask him about this. You need to get him to tell this." And it was very clear exactly what you're saying. Behind closed doors was there.
He's a sponsor. He's an advocate. And I think the only thing better than me receiving the award tonight is that Miguel's introducing me tonight.
Wow.
And I got a chance to hear what he's going to say about me at the rehearsal. And I'm speechless. It's pretty, I'm blessed. He's an angel for me. He's an angel. I got lucky. To those listening, I really hope folks, find their mentor, and use SHPE to make those connections. That's what I did. This is our network, and you'll find somebody here that will advocate for you. If it's not inside your company, I got super lucky. Yeah. But it could be outside the company. But there's people here that want to help. That want to get to know the candidates, the members, right? Myself, my teammates. We brought 55 people this year, 55 plus people this year to convention from P&G. So we want to make those connections. We want to be here year after year and go back to, hey, I met you last year, or you helped me 2 years ago, and thank you so much. Because again, 55 people times 102 times 102 times 102, right? It's exponential. Yeah. We're lucky to be here. We're lucky to have mentors. We're lucky to be mentors, and I think it's up to all of us to continue to do that.
Well, I've kept you way longer than I was supposed to.
Quite all right.
Not surprising. So we've talked about some of the future of SHPE. What are some things in the future that you're excited about within your industry in regards to technology and innovation?
There's a lot of AI coming and utilizing the data that we have. That's opening up new areas of science and technology. One particular project that I'm leading right now is how do we use the cloud to run analytical chemistry experiments, right? So that my PhD scientists don't have to be sitting in front of their instruments and they can be running them remotely. So they code their experiments and they send their sample in the mail, and that allows them to then go do more things in parallel. So there's a lot of that technology coming to bear on how do we further leverage what's in our pocket, right? That phone that can do so much in the space of innovation. How can we use AI to design new molecules? How can we use the connected data that we have to do more prototyping? How do we leverage the collective knowledge that we have in all the documents and all the video recordings and PowerPoint presentations and synthesize that in a way that's more easily accessible, searchable, consumable, right? And we need all that computing power, all that knowledge that went into creating all that to bring it to bear on where we're going next. Not to mention all the technologies that are being invented that we don't even know about. Right, AI wasn't something until about a little bit ago, and all of a sudden it's something, right? It's really big. What's next? We don't know, but we know that there's problems to solve. So in my industry, we continue to talk to our consumers as their needs evolve, as the activities that they do change because of these technologies, right? Their needs are different, and we'll continue to innovate products and solutions for them to deliver on satisfying their needs, because that's what we do at P&G, right? Improving the lives of our consumers through our products. So it's an exciting time. There's a lot coming, and I don't think we know what's there. So there's the evolution or the continued evolution of what it means to be an engineer today, right? when I started, we didn't. That sounds so damn well. I sound like my dad. Well, this is a good story. When I started with P&G, so 5 years, 5 years with Ship, starting with P&G 28 years ago, and my plant, I started a manufacturing plant. They didn't have the internet. They had one computer. It was about 200 employees, but we had one, and we all had computers, but there was one computer that had the internet, and you had to have vice president approval to actually get the connection to the internet, and then you had to sign up and keep a log of who was on the internet doing what.
And now
today,
I have these computers in my pockets.
and today I have all the computers in that plant in my pocket and what I can do. So yes, there's a huge evolution. It continues to grow in that direction, and everything that's coming with AI, everything that's coming with, that continues to evolve in the digital spaces. It's we're creating a bigger, we're creating technology needs that we don't even know we need. Right? We're creating, all of a sudden we have all this data. What do you do with it? We've been pounding on digitalization and making sure that we get structured data, and now all of a sudden I have everything. And structured data is, hey, first name, it's so many characters long, and the first letter is always capitalized, right? That's structured data. We have so much of that now. It's like, now what do I do with it? How do I connect it all? How do I mine the data? And we're just at the very beginning of that. So
And
we'll talk that.
yeah, well, I mean, let's just dive right in. I want to keep going right now.
Yeah.
So what are some of the implications of that though? So we're starting to get these huge databases, mining all this data, access to we talk about generative AI, even for example, that you brought up, assuming it's all based on reliable sources and things of that nature. The potential for that, particularly, I think of like my children going through education, so much of their educational process will be completely different from what I went through, let alone what you went through, not to generational gap us, but what are some of the implications that you see of a lot of this technology?
I see that we're going to have a lot of the processes that we do in R&D, for example, which is very iterative processes. They tend to be very manual because you're making prototypes and you're iterating. You're going to be able to virtually iterate and weed out hundreds, if not thousands, of prototypes before you actually go make the first prototype. Right, because you just have all the data to know, nope, that's not going to work. No, that part of the device, one of our toothbrushes, that part of the device just doesn't kind of fit in with that other part of the device. They're just mismatched. They're misaligned. Right? So we're going to be using the data to kind of figure out what's the prime position of a toothbrush head, for example, and let the data tell us that. Right. Today we would have to make prototypes. Like, do you want the brush of the tooth, the head of the toothbrush to be more towards the front or towards the back of the toothbrush? Old days we'd have to make two prototypes. Tomorrow we could be able to just from consumer research, the data is all connected. We know what they're telling us, consumer comments. We've done our testing in the labs of what works and what doesn't work, and says, hey, in the back works best for the equipment, but in the back is worse for the consumer, right? So we'll be able to do all that, rate the prototypes virtually, and then say, hey, look, of all these options, front, in the middle, back, 2/3 of the way, whatever, we can then say, hey, I'm going to make this prototype and that prototype rather than have to make all of them and then go do the research with that, right? So we start connecting that data. It's going to accelerate innovation. The example that you gave about education, your kids. I think about our training courses, education inside of P&G. I hate to say this, but the amount of content that we create, the training materials that we have, all that data, can we get a AI that cleans it up for us, creates training packages, and we no longer need to have these people, these roles to develop the training package. Now we just have to go execute the training, right? And we're collecting all that community knowledge, because today the community knowledge is lost.
Yeah,
it's in a Word file, it's on my computer, it's on your computer, it's on some SharePoint drive, but we're not looking at it. The AI is going to let us do that. So there's a huge revolution ahead of us. All of a sudden, all that's going to come to bear on, all that knowledge is going to come to bear on what we do next.
and it seems like in kind of all these examples that we've just talked about, one of the common threads that I see is it's about streamlining the process, right? It's about creating more efficiency. And I think there's a lot of people that when we talk about things like AI, there's lots of fear around replacing jobs and things like that. And I think that a lot of those could be very valid fears, but I think there's also a piece of like it's just changing. Could it also be that we're changing people's jobs and then optimizing what the person, the engineer, is able to do instead of having them make 45 prototypes? They can just do two. What else? Then what can they do if they're not spending their time doing 45 prototypes, right?
Exactly. So it allows us to accelerate innovation because now you're running multiple parallel paths.
Yes.
Right. So rather than, I was just say, right, I was going to spend all my hours on these 45 prototypes, but guess what? We're only going to do these limited ones. I have free time. Let me go start another project.
Right.
And I can accelerate innovation. I can do more things at once. I can be very choiceful about what I bring to market and develop. And so you fill the pipeline up. So it opens up the doors for a lot of things. Yes, there's always that question of, well, you're taking away jobs from the current generation, from the current skill set when you bring in these technologies. The same thing was said about automation and factory lines, and it's the age-old adage of upskilling, right? Yes, somebody still needs to maintain the robot, right?
Right.
So you have to upskill to maintain the robot, right? But those are generational shifts. So I'll give you an example. If you look at what it takes for you and I to go learn a new app today that wasn't around 5 years ago, and wait till you get to my age, we're a lot older, where you're like, how does this app even work? And why do I even want this? The younger generation, the students the candidates that are graduating from college today, that's ingrained in them. They just see things differently. So they have this elevated baseline versus us. So they're not having to learn all that, because it's just inherent, because they already knew it. They already learned it. They learned it a lot earlier. It was the mind of a child is a sponge, right? So a 7-year-old can do things that I'm like, what'd you just do? And explain that to me, right? So, so the generations that are coming into STEM have this elevated baseline. So what they're able to do is going to be on top of that. Right. So yes, for the folks in the later parts of their career, that's a little scary. So am I becoming obsolete? But the reality is I don't need to be in that space all the time, right? I can be in the spaces where I add value. I have my skill set that I've developed over the years that is still needed. You still have to it's not going to be flipping the switch all of a sudden, right? This new technology is here. It's an evolution. And that evolution takes decades, right? And decades are career spans. So I'm not worried about becoming obsolete. What I am excited about is how do I do the things that I can do now that will enable the next generation to be freed up to be able to do all these other things. So if I have somebody that comes up and says, hey, I want to go figure out this AI so I can do more work, I'm like, go for it. I can't help you.
Sure.
But what I can do is give you the space, manage or communicate up. Hey, say we've got these projects going on. I can dedicate resources to that and enable folks, right? And let them be the next giants, right?
Yeah.
And kind of, I've done my duty, right? And now it's their time to carry the torch, because that takes decades, that takes generations. So I'm not worried about, at the end of my 30-year career, right? Am I going to be obsolete? No, because again, I pass the torch on to them.
Right. And it's really, it's bringing to mind for me a lot of the conversations I've had here at convention with SHPE members and SHPE leaders. There was there's an idea of leadership where it's not just having people follow you. It's bringing people along with you and paving a path and for them so that they can go farther. And that's what you're talking about. It's about it's embracing innovation, embracing, the progression of all these industries that will be a part of changing the world in ways that we can't even fathom at this point in time.
Right. And I think it's recognizing that my baseline is such that I'm not, and I'm okay with this, I'm not going to be the best in that field, in these new fields. I have other interests in these stages of life. So why not get out of the way? And that's what we're here to do. We're here to empower. We're here to break down barriers. And sometimes we're our own worst enemies. We, out of pride, out of ownership, out of fear, we don't want to let go. I was like, well, come along. I'm not letting go, but come along. Because at some point I'm going to let go. I'm going to retire, right? So at that point, like, you're already be hanging on, right? So it's about letting ourselves be a little bit more humble and get out of the way for the next generations to really step up, because they're the ones, right?
Well, and when I think about sort of the way you're already addressing some of this, and particularly the role of SHIP and the leaders within this wonderful familia, it's not just about getting out of the way; it's about lifting them up, and that's
Yes.
exactly what you're saying.
Yes,
is important
I
to
say,
do.
I say getting out of the way. That's another way to say of lifting them up, right?
Right,
It's
right.
because I've done my path, my work to pave the path to a certain point, right? And now it's their turn, right? But they couldn't have gotten there without the work of all the people ahead of them. So I'm not. It's not so much. I know getting out of the way maybe sounds a little bit on the negative side, but yes, it is about, I've lifted you up as far as I can go. I've taken
Right.
you as far as I can take you at this point. It's time for you to start going
Now
and
you
bringing the next generation behind you.
Absolutely. And I think that I love that actually as a analogy for what SHIP does as well, because you're not trying to support the next generation of Hispanic engineers so that they could be as successful as you have been. You want them to be more successful.
Way more successful. It's funny. I've had students come up to me at the conferences. I've been doing this for over 27 years, and NELA and RLDCs and all that. And I've had students say, "I want to be just like you," and I say, "No, no, aim higher, like aim way higher, because there's so much more. There's so much more that I haven't done." So no, yeah.
I can't think and listen at the same time. So that's why I do
That's right.
podcasts.
That's right. That's right.
I'm
Can I give you a quote?
absolutely. Please do.
If I've seen further or reached greater heights, it's because I've stood on the shoulders of giants. That quote was originally by, of all people, Isaac Newton. It says, the quote, I think, goes, "If I've seen further, it's been on the shoulders of giants," something like that. I've added a couple things in there. But that to me is quintessentially what we're doing here. This is it's like a pyramid.
Yeah.
And every year there's another layer on that pyramid. And every year that the base of the pyramid gets even wider, right? We're adding more members, we're adding more experience, more depth. And that pyramid's growing and growing. And it's not only growing up, but it's growing out, right? And so that's what we're doing. And each one of us is the giant, the boulder that sits there for our generation, so that the next generation can come and build on top of us.
And I think that's such a great analogy for what SHIP is doing. It's about getting as high as we can, getting everyone else to go as higher and higher. But I love that you included that we're going to go wider. We're going to make sure there's more people included to be able to create the foundations for those who come next.
Yeah, because you can't always get taller without growing your base, right? You're going to topple. There's only if there's a very small base and we're all building on top of each other, at some point there's not enough base, there's not enough stability, and the organization will topple. It's too few people. We need more people to have different experiences. One of the biggest shifts that we've seen in our generation is being able to impact the world. It used to be that you wanted to see the world. The world was very far away. There was no internet. There was TV shows or movies were very you'd only see one very small section, but you wouldn't get to see everything around it. With Instagram, the internet, TikTok, we see the whole world happening all the time. So we're impacting much more broadly, much more quickly. We're much more aware. Again, that baseline is way up there from where it was before, right? So that global knowledge is much more elevated. And so that growth is necessary for us to get that to be stable, because again, if we just continue with the same small organization only doing certain things, it'll get tired, it'll get broken, people will fall out. So one of those boulders will retire, will stop being engaged, it'll wither away, that support, and we'll have to restart, redo. But if we can grow out, right, as we grow up, if one of those boulders isn't able to do something and is a void for a little bit, the structure isn't going to fall. Right? The community doesn't fall. So it gives stability, right? And we can have, it's like Jenga.
Yeah.
Right. You do all your Jengas the same way. You pull one out, the whole thing's going to topple.
Right.
You do it the way it's done. You pull one out, it doesn't topple. Right. So it's that kind of stability, which is a interesting analogy if you're kind of a mechanical or a structural engineer.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
I didn't analyze it on that level, but I'm sure so many listening probably did. Julio, thank you so much for joining us again. As always, you are a true inspiration and most deserving of all recognition and awards that you're going to be given. And I feel so confident speaking for the whole SHIP family and saying thank you so much for your service to SHIP and to STEM and to La Familia. So thank you, Julio. You're amazing.
Alex, thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity. I mean, de aquí soy, right? And we'll continue to do this.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Before we get up real quick, I wanted to take a quick picture of us up here. Okay. So we'll... All right, so we'll just look at this main camera right here. Wonderful. Thank you so much. I consider you true SHIP podcast royalty. I hope that we can have you every time.
You know, when you guys sit down, I'm like, I got on, and I'm like, wow.